Service Power Plant Network, LinkedIn community. Hi, friends. Welcome to another Monday night in the Food Service Power Plant Network, where we share the stories of different industry leaders and friends. Tonight is going to be John Hinman. He's a guy that I met. I met John, well, I'm not even going to say, but years ago. We're going to see if he remembers where we met. I met John years ago, and John has Hinman Pies in Denver. Some of the best pies on the planet. We get pies there during the holiday, different holidays, etc. And during COVID, John was like one of the few places I got out, seeing John and his friend Aaron with CHOW and Gigi and a bunch of people getting pies. It was like my first get out of the house experience, I think. And in addition to having Hinman Pies, he started something called CHOW, Culinary Hospitality Outreach and Wellness, and started this years ago. And he's got a team of people now helping run this, which is offering a ton of mental health support and training and coaching and community for people in the hospitality world who just need some support, want growth tools, etc. It's been an incredible gift to many in Colorado, and now that's expanding beyond. So we're going to talk with John about the history behind that and why, and like what's his favorite pie and all of these wonderful things. It's going to be a really fun night. As always, a couple of things for you. You are welcome to leave questions, put questions in here for John and I. We're open books. We're happy to answer. Or comments, you can say, John, you're the man, whatever you want, go for it. Also, I would encourage you to grab a notepad and pen, because inevitably, John's got parts of his story that you'll relate with. I don't know what parts those are, but that's how humanity works in these conversations. There's always things that are relatable and lessons maybe for you, or nuggets of wisdom that you'll want to pull into your story. So I would encourage you to grab a notepad and a pen for that. Lastly, a huge thank you to the Zumba Group and to Craven Company. Zumba Group, of course, owns RD&D Magazine, Restaurant Development and Design, Food Service Equipment and Supplies Magazine. They are educating the industry with what's happening hour by hour, day to day, both online, and so many of us get the physical copy. Thank you for all they're doing, and now wanting to incorporate the positive mindset tools and what we're doing here into what they're doing. There's a lot of fun things coming, so thank you to them. Go check them out. And Craven Company, they've built our website, which continues to evolve and help me with marketing and all of these things. They are specific to the food service industry in terms of marketing support, social media strategy, websites, all this kind of jazz. Go check out Chelsea and her team. We are grateful for them. And if you notice my voice, I've got a drink here of some vitamin water. I've had this wicked cold, so my voice doesn't totally sound the same, but it's great. We're going to crush it. And welcome. Can't wait to have you. Let's go get him. John Hinman.
Hey, Jason Wang.
Yo, I'm great, brother. How the heck are you?
Not bad. Thank you very much.
Man, I am really glad that you joined us. I've wanted this conversation for so long. And do you remember where we first met?
I want to say it was like on here, or either like in person.
It was in person when we first met.
Oh, at the Stanley Marketplace.
It wasn't that. It was actually, I met you years ago. We were at, oh my gosh, Modern Eater.
Oh.
And I brought my daughter Haley. This had to be, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago.
Now I remember.
And you were there making pies that night.
We were throwing them in the fryer for the first time.
Was that who we did?
Yeah, I think so. And Biker Jim was there, and
Jim and Greg and Jay and the whole team. And on the way out, you gave Haley and I some pie dough. You had extra pie dough. And excuse me. So I remember, like, Haley and I we're down in Florida right now at my in-laws for spring break, and we were just in the pool. And I said, Haley, you know who I'm interviewing tonight? Jim, who makes pie, or John, who makes pies. And she's like, he gave us pie dough. And I was like, I know. So you endeared yourself to me and my family years ago. And I'm glad we reconnected really through all COVID, it kind of seems.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it's over COVID. And then we saw each other at like the first event when we had that drive-through food westward thing.
Yeah, that was fun. That was, man, there were a lot of cars that night, and you gave out a lot of pies, man.
Yeah, we did. That was a fun night.
Okay, tell me, you've got Hinman Pies. Tell me some of how you got into pies and how you got into this world, and why pies? Like, of all the things you could have chosen, tell me what endeared pies to you.
Well, that's an interesting story. because I love 7-Eleven Hostess hand pies. They're like my depression food. And especially since I've gotten sober, they're kind of my go-to. Like I've delivered my own pies while eating those pies and posted on Facebook. It's funny. And so I was a pastry chef for almost 20 years in Denver. And, the restaurant business, the single plate dessert thing was kind of becoming a turnoff for me because it was just getting a little too out there. We're putting things in chocolate that I wasn't interested in doing. I just lost my interest, I think. And I'm a kind of guy that always likes to do new things. And so I was eating one of those Hostess pies one day, walking down the street, and I thought to myself, I can do better than this. Where do you even get a good cherry pie? So I thought about it, and all we have is Sara Lee, Village Inn, all the Hostess, Marie Callender's, and I couldn't find a decent pie. And so the thought came to me, it's like, the comment I always hear is my grandma used to make. So I said, where are their grandmas? They're at pie contests. So one summer when I was working for another local market, I entered every pie contest in Denver until I started beating grandmas. I had like a 95-year-old nemesis, and what makes grandma's pie so good, it turns out they use lard and they use Crisco.
Okay.
And I had a strict rule that I wasn't going to do that. So all my pies, I went down this path of rendering my own lard, mixing lard with butter, doing all this stuff and making them real pretty until I finally started beating the grandmas, and I knew I had something going on. Today, the pie dough is just butter, flour, and water.
Wow.
It's super simple. There's no sugar in it. And it's just in the way that we make it that makes it so good, but it's just simple 3 ingredients. And then I really want to stick to, I'm not going to do anything really outrageous with the pies. Like, I don't think anybody's had a great apple pie or a great cherry pie. So I'm really sticking to the staples. The craziest thing we have out there right now is a pork green chili pie, which is our number one seller, especially around here. But that's about as far out as I want to go. I really like to bring people to staples. I like primary colors. I like ones and zeros, I think, although I live in a gray area, but I like clearly defined things in my life.
Do you have a favorite pie?
Excuse me. Yeah. Cherry pie.
Cherry
is my favorite pie, hands down. Unfortunately, the price of cherries is skyrocketing right now, but that's all on that. But that's the one that started it all was cherry for me.
Man. Now, it's one of those things. I remember years ago, I used to love golf. I still love golf casually. I play usually only for work. But when I worked on a golf course one summer in college, and that summer, I've never played less golf than the summer that I worked on a golf course. As a pie maker, do you find yourself eating less pie because you make it and it's what you do day in and day out? Or are you like, no, man, I get a good amount of pie in this belly?
I am the skinniest pie guy you've ever seen. Like some people are like, I don't trust you. You're not big enough to buy a pie from, but at a certain point, yeah, I do eat the pies, but I at a certain point, they just become widgets,
Yeah.
When I used to own a gelato store over on South Pearl Street in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And when the kids would come work for me, I'd just be like, eat all the ice cream you possibly can, and it would be like a week of them doing it. And then they were like, oh, I don't want to ever have gelato again. Right. It's like your dad sticking you in the closet to smoke a case of cigars, Oh, back in the day. Awesome. I don't think anybody does that anymore, but
that's a good strategy. I think that's a great strategy. On your website, when I was checking, just doing some research, you make a really cool, there's like maybe it was on CHOW's website. I think it was on CHOW's website. Here, real quick, before I go there, talk about, we'll go there. We'll go here first. You made a really cool connection between pie, a physical pie and eating pie, but also like a deeper connection between stories and what it represents perhaps on a deeper level. Is there anything there that like pie is sort of a really great medium into something a little bit more intimate?
Oh, totally. Like, how do you think I got, like, people always say my grandma used to make,
Hmm.
um, pies instantly, they're round. You can they serve 8, you can bring one to a dinner, you can bring 2, and everybody splits it up. And, you have to share it from that standpoint. And everybody's size of pie is different. Like, people will call me and say, how many does a pie serve? It's generally 8, but I say 8, unless you have an Uncle Phil who considers a slice of pie half a pie, so that that's just general. But there is something about, I get more stories out of people when they take their first bite and they'll tell me something about camp or a trip they went on or a disaster, or I always get a story. I really should be carrying a notebook around more, because I would have a great pie table book full of stories. And I was wondering about that, and I kind of looked it up, because there's not really anything else that I've experienced that takes people on these trips. And it's your sense of taste and smell. They're the only 2 out of your senses that go directly to your primitive part of your brain and instill a memory right off the bat. Like,
Yeah.
they're the 2 things that can take you on a trip. I think music can do it too, but it's different, because your ears still have to, there's a filter between what you hear in your brain to translate that. And with taste and smell, it just goes right to the source and lights it up. So yeah, and pies are good to have a discussion over. They're good. If I could give away pies for free, that's what I would do for a living. And that would be a living. That would be success, to go on to your other question. What does success look like? Like, hey, you're having a bad day, here's a pie.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. Does this name mean anything to you? Harley Mankins?
Does it mean anything? It means to somebody.
Do you see that?
Yeah, he's bringing.
I don't know if that's Harley Mankins. Are you a person watching? I hope so.
I think so. I don't know a Harley.
I was like, maybe there's a story there. Maybe there's a Harley.
Well, there's somebody saying custard pie brings me back to childhood in Liverpool, England.
Oh, look at that.
Around the world, like you talk to somebody from Australia, and I think they call them pasties, and they'll tell you a story about that. And the English are all about their meat pies, and
yeah,
I do my best. We do have meat pies. I took the shepherd's pie and turned it into like the Colorado cowboy pie, so that it has similar things to shepherd's pie, but green chilies and stuff like that.
I'm tapping this accidentally. This is our friend Zena. Zena is in Oklahoma City. Custard pie brings me back to childhood in Liverpool, England. Wow, how cool is that? You're so right. Like, smell and taste. There's moments where I can walk into a room, or I can walk in somewhere, and I can be transported back. I'm 44. I can be transported back 40 years. And I can be in grandma's kitchen, or I can be in my parents' kitchen, experiencing something, or, taste, certainly. Hi, Zena. By the way, this is our buddy Rick Palmer. Rick is a consultant, and John, in our world, that means he's designing kitchens all day long, big hospitals and restaurants, and maybe he's done a pie bakery. I don't know. Boom, Palmer's in the house. Wants to know if he can ship them to Nashville. John, do you ship your pies?
That's my number 1 question I get, and I'm working on it.
Okay.
If somebody wants to financially back me and help me do that, I'm all ears here.
Well, I love it. That's a fun challenge for us to figure out. I bet this community can. And Palmer, whenever we figure out how to ship John's pies, boom, one's coming to you. This is our buddy Jason Worth. Jason, when we talk golf, Colorado, and cherry pies, I'm feeling pretty awesome about life. I love it, Jay. Good to see you, brother. Who's this one? This is free pie. This is our friend Marcia. Free pie means Marcia Lee will be your friend for life. And Marcia, you're a great friend to have. This I know. So we got to find a way to get you some pies. This is favorite test Margazina. Rhubarb, my second favorite.
Rhubarb comes in June, end of May, beginning of June.
Awesome. I don't know if I've ever had one.
They're good. Strawberry rhubarb is what we usually make. And then there's the straight rhubarb people, which might be this person. I can't see names when they come by. I just see Facebook.
No, I have to look on my phone on the Facebook thread. to see it. That's how I do it. Okay, so when you're not, let's talk about CHOW. CHOW is Culinary Hospitality Outreach and Wellness. Tell me, so you run Hinman Pies and you make pies for a living. That's your job. That's your day job. It's how you earn your living, etc. And then you started CHOW. Tell me how and the why of CHOW in your journey.
Well, the 11 years ago, in 2011, about this time, I found myself I've been in the restaurant business since 1997. And I found myself 37 years old, getting evicted from my apartment and heading to mom's house, face down on mom's house, facing about 4 years of jail time. And, that was the best I could do in this industry, or in life, overall. I feel like the day I was born, sometimes I miss the manual, did I miss the handout for the manual of life? I don't know what happened, but that's where I found myself. So, I started going, I went to a treatment center, and I started going to another recovery group. And for the first time in my life, something inside of me just started saying yes. And I started sharing about where it hurt. It was like the first time in my life I wasn't trying to get you to like me. I was trying to get to like myself. And that really helped, came out, and sharing my experience and strength and hearing others people's and kind of following that model. And I remember when I first came to recovery, I would sit with my sponsor and he'd say, "What's going on?" And I would sit there like quiet, I could not put words to the feelings. Like, I didn't know how to explain what I was feeling inside and relate to that as that is anxiety. I'm mad. I couldn't say how I felt and define it as mad. I could not define all these emotions I was having. And today I'm much better at it. But, that all came out of conversation. So I did that up in Longmont. I was fortunate enough that my mom let me stay with her for almost 2 years. And at that point I had no driver's license. I mean, my mom and I had to start over, like from when I was a kid. So she was dropping me off at the bus so I could get to work. I was riding my bike everywhere. I had a backpack again. I was like a kid, and she would drop me off at the bus on snowy days and say, hand me my bag lunch with a bagel and say hi to your bus friends, But that was a great time for my mom and I, because we got to live together, and she has her own fears too. And we learned that we were all our life protecting each other from each other, so we didn't harm each other. So I regained that relationship and got more just from talking. So I swore off the restaurant business. I had 11 jobs my first year of sobriety. And guess what? Back in the restaurant business. I found myself back working for Dave Query at the Big Red F, who's just been awesome to me my whole career. He's always had a place for me to land when times are good and times are bad, and they're my one of my top customers today. So I found myself back there with another friend of mine, another pastry chef friend, who had also left the Big Red F about 5 years prior, the same time I did. And I went off and did a gelato store, and she went off and did a different business. And we both find each other at this table again with our own stories. Like, how the hell did we wind up here again? So we started cooking, and I wound up at the Post after some stuff there. Back in the I went to Lucky's Market, and then back to Dave for the Post. And I came back to Denver, and I had a pretty good reputation as a pastry chef, and I had bought an 11,000 square foot bakery. So I literally went from a 3x5 table in the back of a restaurant to 11,000 square foot bakery overnight with 28 employees. Now that's insane. And I just thought, like everything else I do in life, I'll just learn as I go. And boy, did I learn. And I'm still learning from that. And I'll still be paying for it for a while. But hey, but that was a huge change. But that got a little media notice. So I was doing some articles, and people were calling me to do articles, and I was getting all these attaboys for getting sober. And I'm like, great for me. Yeah, I got sober, but plenty of people live on this planet without having to go through what I went through. And so the last interview was from Alex Palmerton from 303 Magazine. And I said, I'm happy to tell you whatever you want to know, but I want to do something. So how about 30 days after this article comes out, we'll put it the article that I'll open up the bakery at 5:30 on a Monday night and start a group if anybody cares to come and talk about this stuff. No name, no whatever. So as the days are itching closer, I'm like, none of these A-type personality chefs are going to come and talk about feelings. So I'm conning myself now. I'm like, that a boy, you tried, you'll get to go on with your life. But unfortunately, 2 days before the scheduled meeting, Anthony Bourdain passed away.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly there was 35 or 40 people on a Monday night at the bakery going, what the hell just happened? So I didn't know what to do with that many people. I mean, I figured maybe 3 people would show up or whatever. I had a nice panel of experts from our industry ready to be there and talk and share some story. But other than that, there was no plan. So I said, hey, go around the room, say your name, what do you do, and why you're here. And that meeting might have gone on for 4 hours. Wow. Because I was expecting everybody to take 5 minutes. And, people went on, and we let them have the floor, because we never get the floor. So we let that run. Lots of talks about suicide and working overtime and all this stuff. And I quickly grabbed a pen and paper and wrote down all our similarities. And that has become the CHOW, the preamble before every meeting. But the last woman went, and she's furiously knitting, and she's whipping out these hot pads. I have one over here. And I'm like, what the hell is she going to say? And in Longmont, in the meeting rooms, there's one of the meetings I went to had like 5 knitters in it. These women that just sat up there and knit, and then they put their knitting down, said something, and changed their life, and picked their knitting up and went back at it. So I was kind of hyper aware of her. And she gets up and she lays out her suicide plan for that night. She said, if this meeting isn't a good meeting, this is what I'm going to go home and do. And she is alive and well and thriving today. But I had said, all right, I'll be here at 5:30 next Monday. And that's how CHOW was started. And it has grown into, a vision. I always knew it was something well beyond my visibility, but it's going much further, a vision beyond my visibility today that, I'm just a member at this point. We're getting requests from international requests, other cities to start in-person meetings. There's now 3 in-person meetings in Colorado. There's one in Steamboat Springs. There is one in Denver, which is going on as we speak right now, and one in Colorado Springs tomorrow night. You can go to all of them virtually on the Zoom or go in person. Plus we have more virtual meetings, meetings in Spanish, meetings for women, all virtual, midday meetings. And people just get to come and talk. And it's not a place to dump your stuff. Like, you can't come in and say, I crashed my car and my dog died and my wife left me today. Yes, you can do that. But, we really try to have we have a leader at every meeting that comes with a topic. And, like last week, we spoke about time and, how we're affected by that. We talk about selfishness. We talk about, we really pick a topic and try to stay with that. And we don't care where you are in the restaurant business. You're the Cisco delivery driver, you're welcome. You are the writer for the Post, you're welcome. You are a farmer, you're welcome. One of our board members has 2 kids that just work in the industry, but she's affected too, because she has to, it's not just the people in the industry that affect each other. It's the people in the, outside lives too, that have to rearrange their Christmases because John has to work on Christmas, So we really try to address those issues, and it's a really great way to meet restaurant people where they're at. When you come in and you say, I worked 80 hours this week, we don't flinch, because we know that's not the problem, because I did it too, and so did the next person. So and the real idea behind it for me was to become a trampoline for people to. It's scary to sign up to go to a therapist or go to an AA meeting or go to something, so and you think you're going to go in there, like you're going to go into an AA meeting and they're going to screw you up, like any worse than you drinking and driving and crashing your car. Those AA people are really going to jack me up, And so CHOW gives a place for us to come and show that you can go to a meeting and laugh. We walk out of there laughing after every meeting. One person said, man, this is just like sitting in the alley after work and hanging out with our friends. It's community and just sharing the soul. And that's the biggest part for me. Where does it hurt? It hurts here. It hurts in my heart. And how do you fix what you can't see? The only way to do it is talk about it. If you break your arm, you can go and mend that arm, and it's fixed in 6 weeks. And a year later, you're joking about, remember when I fell off the ladder and broke my arm, and it's past. But this mental health and soul stuff is a different thing, And a lot of times we just throw a bunch of pills at it and this and that, so we go even more asleep, and CHOW's meant to give life, and share our souls a little bit, Yeah, there's some crying, but there's a lot more laughing. I'll tell you that.
Well, it's beautiful what you're describing. It is amazing what simply being willing to talk about where it hurts, and or where the joy is, or whatever feelings and the things that you learn about defining feelings and holding multiple feelings and all of these things. I mean, first of all, thank you. And I think it's beautiful. I'm going to get to a couple of questions because there's people that have some questions here. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Okay, this is our friend Marcia, and I know Jas, who's a part of CHOW, is on too, so she's kind of answering a little bit, but I want to let you answer too. Marcia says, John, how can we help? Do you need people? What would you say, John? Does CHOW need right now from a support standpoint? People, or what do you most need in terms of that?
Right now we're going to have some events coming up that we're going to need some volunteers for. I'm not sure what Marcia does, but I know that we're always kind of looking for people to help run meetings. But Jasmine's on there, Jazz, waving at everybody. She's the know-it-all. She knows it all, literally. I'm the founder and the spirit, and CHOW's become so big. We have so many programs now. It's hard for me to keep track of them all.
Can you volunteer from afar if you don't live in Colorado?
Yes, I believe you can, because we are, virtually, and we are based in Colorado right now, but we are looking at what do we have to do to go to other cities.
Yeah.
So, because we are getting a lot of requests from other cities.
Nicole Larson. Hi, Nicole. Good to see you. I love it. Here's another question from Marcia. John, how would a person start a nonprofit like CHOW? So, Marcia, I'm assuming, so if there's a vision or there's an experience you have of supporting or wanting to connect with and support a community, what are some of the nuts and bolts you go through to actually turn this into something?
Oh, God, I got lucky on this one, Marcia. I mean, I really enjoyed my 5:30 meeting on a Monday, and some chefs had gotten together and raised like $3,000 for CHOW. And I held on to that check until, the last day you could possibly cash it, which was like right before New Year's of 2020, because I didn't want it to change. I knew the second that I put that money in the bank, everything was going to change. I knew I was going to have to go through the work of becoming a 501c3 and all this. And I don't know, I'm trying to figure out pies. I don't know anything about a 501c3. So I actually called a friend who did this, and I met them at Union Station, and we filled out the paperwork and I sent it off, and that's how easy it was. And I had a 501c3 overnight. I do not know all the processes of it all. And then I found Erin Boyle, who's our executive director, and she's run with it from there. But it's all been God's deal. It's like I've started CHOW, I get the money, I wait till the last minute. I'm afraid to start a 501c3 because I don't know who to ask. I ask one person, he says, meet me at Union Station and I'll get you hooked up. And I mean, that's just how this whole thing works. It's not, it's not me, it's not the John Hinman show or anything here. This is something much bigger than all of us. And I knew it, I'm watching it go around the world. And at the same time, I got to, not step back from it because it's not me. I was just the catalyst for this thing. I started because I need help. That's why I started it. And I still do,
I love the differentiation and the acknowledgement that here's why I started it. I still need its services. I still need to talk. I still need to listen. I still need to hear stories. I still need someone to come in and talk about time and to figure out how I relate in it or whatever those other, the weekly lessons are and learnings, et cetera. And then your willingness and acknowledgement that, hey, listen, it's bigger than me at this point. This was something that happened and maybe some of that $3,000 caught you off guard. And okay, now we're going to do this with it and let's see what happens. And recognizing that, there are people that are gifted at doing this and that would love to do this and serve and who have been through it as well. And I got to keep doing pies and I want to keep being a part of it to the degree that I can. But to serve to the capacity that it's capable of.
I'm not the expert on this one, and I'm well aware of that. A lot of days I'm the sickest one in the room, and that's fine, because I love where it's going and I don't have to do it. And it's not because I'm lazy. It's because, like you just said, there's other people who love that stuff. And I like making people happy in another way. If I can figure out how to make enough money to give away pies, there we go.
I freaking love it. I think one of the cool things too, John, is this, by the way, this comment is Chris Flory. Chris is one of our good community friends out of New York. He was he's an executive chef and was with Sodexo a long time. Now he's with Guggenheimer and just a great human being. And he's done a cooking show with us and he's come on and been a guest as well.
Cool.
Yeah, Chris, yo brother.
Yeah,
but I think one of the things is, I think sometimes there's this perception that when people are willing to start acknowledging things that maybe aren't healthy or that aren't life-giving inside and start talking about it, that you go through a process, let's call it CHOW, or you go through it, you're in a community and you get well and you learn to reconcile some things in you and you grow and maybe you get some therapy or some help or AA or whatever that is. And then that's no longer a part of your story. But I think the reality is that it's always a part of your story. Every part of our story walks with us. It doesn't mean it steals life from us forever, but it's a part of us. And I think there's also this perception at times that if there's something that's unhealthy in me now, and I walk through it and there's some healing around it, that I'm okay. I'm good to go because I don't want, but the reality is there's continually things that we're working on that feel unhealthy, that, we heal a certain area and then maybe something else we recognize, maybe I'm, I have no idea what it would be, but so it's not like a community like CHOW is one you're a part of for a period of time and then you leave. There's always room for more conversation and listening and guidance and coaching and therapy, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere, and what made me, talk about this, if I can share a quick recent story, is that, on Christmas Eve, I totaled my car. My mom had called, she lives up in Grand Lake, and it was snowing that night. And I still had presents to wrap. It was 2:00 in the afternoon. I finished my last pie deliveries. I made it through Thanksgiving. My mom called and said, the weather's bad, honey, come up tomorrow. And I literally exhaled all that stuff. I remember, I know what song was on the radio, U2's Love is Blindness. And I went through a red light at Blake and Park Ave and T-boned another car. I just stepped out for a minute. And I come to and I opened my eyes and everything was white. There was somebody shouting in the side door and I looked down at my feet. Part of my story is I did 90 days in jail and I and I looked down at my feet and I saw like my jail slippers, and I looked around the car and my like glasses and everything were in the back. It looked like my messy room in boarding school. I mean, shit was just everywhere. And then I hear this guy talking and I just said to myself, okay, God, if we went this far and I got to do jail, then this is what we got to do. And the guy, and I said, who did I kill? That, I just figured that I'd run somebody over, and I got scared, man, really scared. Yeah. And they took the car away, and then, so I had a concussion, and then I got COVID, and then I got the flu. So the first like 40 days of this year, I the universe quarantined me because I didn't do any of it during COVID. And my name had become Hey John. I was supposed to have all the answers at this point. And it was just too much. And I'm sitting here, I have awards up around my house from things I've won from CHOW. And there was days I'm coming up and I can't, looking at the picture of myself and I'm like, I can't live up to that guy. Who has everybody created? What happened to John? Yeah. And so this is, why I've decided to kind of take a step back and relook at where I'm going today, because I've become in the last 2.5 years, there's just this hurricane, and it took a month to sit by the river and watch it run for a little bit and slow down. I mean, I still have, my friend and I call them these soul storms. We get in our chest and I get full of fear and I don't know why, it's not for anything. It's just, I feel something coming, and to unwind for 45 days like that, like I just did. And right now I'm riding a bike, borrowing a car. I'm at day one again. Business has no money in the account. CHOW's taken off. I'm right at day one, right where I'm supposed to be. So, it's scary, but I've lived through worse, and it's another opportunity to change for the better. And when the cop was putting my car up on the tow thing, he goes, "Man, that's going to be expensive." And I said, "No, man, that's a brake." And he went, "What?" And I go, "I can't go anywhere. I go everywhere all the time. Now I'm stuck." Yeah. So I'm taking it easy today and trying to make smarter business decisions. It's been since COVID, and starting CHOW and flipping my business. In that time, I've just been throwing tomatoes at the wall for almost 3 years and going with what sticks, right or wrong. That seems to be working. I'm going that way, but I don't know why. And I need to start knowing why. So, well, I'm excited. Excuse me. I'm excited you saw it that way. Who is this? This is Jas. Jas is right. You got this, John. Back at day one, I think there's a degree, if I'm honest, that some degree every day I'm back at day one in some capacity. There's always areas of growth. I'm not the human I was 15, 17 years ago. Thankfully, I'm grateful. I hope to not. I'd like to not be that guy again in some parts of that. But there were conversations. We're on vacation here in Florida, and there were conversations today about ways that I know I need to grow, and opportunities for growth, to listen better, or be more encouraging at times, things like that. And so there's always an opportunity. And if we look at it as just pain or as what we're not, then we avoid the opportunity to just be. And whether it's sit and listen or pay attention, or whether it's share or connect. Or we kind of look at it, well, you know what? There's a degree when you do that over and over again, I think, and you work through and you grow and you're willing to listen and be real with yourself mostly, and then others. You're like, well, I know how to do this. There's another thing that just came up in my life. Maybe it was a crashed car, or you recognize what the last 2.5 years have been, and money in the bank account, all this kind of stuff. But it's like, I know how to look myself in the eye anymore and not have to hide or not have to be afraid. And we can do this. We got it. Yeah. And I can see it coming. I'm aware. Like, I've been here before. So are you going to do something different this time, John? Or are you going to take the route that and the route I know, I can survive that again too. But it's like, it looks like hell. Yeah. But I know it, and so it's that fear of the unknown that I think most of us have. What if? Yeah, what if you leap off that and take a chance? What if I start a meeting at 5:30? I'm afraid that, my initial thoughts was like, oh, John Hinman's sober now in the communities. Look at him trying to save everything. But no, that's what, it took courage. It took courage to get sober. It takes courage to say that I hurt. It takes courage to just stand out. The girls of CHOW all call me the lone nut, because I'm always asking, why can't we do that? And they say it's against the law. And I'm like, are you sure? Or that's just not the way it's done. I was really adamant about not calling CHOW's board of directors a board. I wanted to call it a council, because when you work in a restaurant and the board of directors shows up, that's something that there's a slim chance, if you're a line cook, that you're ever going to be. So you're like, the fucking board of directors are here. So we're a council, and, really inclusive. I'm just smiling about it, because it's rarely that I stop and look at it from a step back, to see the people that it's helped, and it's all kind of started off, in Alcoholics Anonymous, you're supposed to have sponsees, right? And my sponsor was like, hey, you've had no sponsees. And I come back a week later. I'm like, well, I didn't come back with a sponsee, but I did start this group. And he goes, I told you to get one fucking guy. And I was like, I work better in groups. What can I say? And that's just how that's kind of how CHOW started, a little bit part of that origin story too. It's like, you got to get out and help others. That's the message I heard.
Good for you to recognize too where you thrived. Hey, look, I do better in groups. It's kind of interesting. We were at a party like a month ago, and one of our friends is a therapist, and I was asking her some questions, and she talked about the power of group therapy, even over individual therapy. Like a lot of the studies that show, and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I will say, John, your willingness to be authentic with your story is disarming. It disarms me. Like the power, I have to imagine everyone watching right now and hearing you share your experience is experiencing something similar.
What do I have to lose? I shouldn't be here. I've driven cars into Wash Park Lake. I've drank myself into whatever. I wound up in jails. I've been in some of, my poor mother, she's never had a speeding ticket. That poor woman, I've drugged her through more stuff, So if my story helps somebody even just one more day or one more minute, then it counts, right? And I don't feel like I feel like this is what I have to do. It's not like I'm paying back a debt. And like you said, I totally agree with like group therapy being better than one-on-one therapy, because you get to hear 5 different voices, or however big that group is, and 5 different ways of looking at one perspective, where somebody else has already done what you've done and can tell you how to get through it.
Yep. That was my thing for when I went through my years, my 21 to really 31, which were my heavy depression, anxiety years. Where I almost took my life, et cetera. My openness, I know there's a lot of, there's a stigma around guys not wanting to talk about feelings. Now, part of it might be like to what you talked about. I didn't know how to define my feelings. I didn't know what, mad was, or what anxious was, or whatever that is. But there's this also, am I giving up a man card or something like this? Am I being vulnerable or showing that I'm not totally strong by saying, guess what? I feel sad right now. Or guess what? I feel depressed right now. I was always quite open with it, and it wasn't because of a fear of that. It was, to your point, I hoped that someone had gone through it and might have advice. Like I was like, if I tell you what I'm going through, well, then maybe you've got ideas for me. If I don't tell you, I'm not going to be able to learn anything, because you're not going to know that that's something I could use some help with or some support in. And so that was the other thing I think too, John, is you talk about what this has become and how you're serving to, giving back. And it's simply by sharing your story and connecting people. You did something. You had a 5:30 meeting. There's a phrase I heard years ago, which I believe is true of my story and why I do the power plant stuff, or how I hope I connect with people. But it's, oftentimes our greatest contribution is born of the source of our greatest pain.
Yeah.
And we all want a why. We all want to have a reason, for what we're doing, and a passion or a purpose or all of these things to contribute in some meaningful way, or probably lots of meaningful ways. And for those of us who have, come close to nearing the end and come out of it to experience life, it's a really easy purpose to assign ourselves or to attach to, because we've experienced the pain of that, and we want to offer others just the hey, there's ideas we got out of it, you can too.
Yeah, I've been down this road before, and if you're willing, here's what I did, and it wasn't easy. And one thing I like, the cool thing about CHOW is that you don't have to. I've realized probably over the last like 8 years is that we all suffer from different things. Like, I'm alcoholic, right? But that's not my problem. Alcohol is not my problem. I'm my problem. And I use alcohol to relegate the problem. Some people eat, some people cut themselves, some people, do work too much. Some people are, down some sex holes. It's just, it's how we cope. And when it all comes back down to it, it's in our hearts. What's screwing with us in our hearts? How do we fix that? So CHOW is like awesome that, yeah, some of us are sober and some of us are overeaters, and some of us just don't even know why we're there, but we're just happy to be there. And, giving that support to one another, it has been huge, and when some people have said, all right, I'm going to apply for a new job today, and we follow up the next week, how did that thing go? And, we cheerlead each other on. It's not just a place to come and it's fun. You make friends. We're building a community here and encouraging each other to get to the next step. My whole career, I never made, until 47 or 37 years old, I never made over $13 an hour. No health insurance, no nothing. How the hell did I do that? Yeah. And I don't think I make more now, and I don't have health insurance at the moment, but, the world is out there and possible, Yeah. I just do it in a different way today, and I, we all looking for this happy, joyous, free thing, but all that doesn't, there's no freedom without chains. I wake up in the morning still, and I'm like, I can judge my day by if I need an attitude adjustment. If I wake up, and rarely do I wake up and think, another glorious day. I wake up and go, shit, well, what do I got to do? And then, the entire day goes through my head and I haven't even opened my eyes yet, and that's not a way to go, but I wake up like that every day. So what do I have to do to break that? One of your questions was like my habits. It's like, I got to remember to get up and give myself the time before I put my pants on and run right past myself out the door. I got to sit and I got to read a couple of things that are inspiring, and try to sit quiet, and it's funny. It's like, I'm just asking for 15 minutes a day, to give up to something other than me or whatever, to plan my day. And how hard is that? I got 24 hours in a day. To stop and take 15 minutes for myself is the hardest thing to do every day. And I don't do it every day, but that is my best practice. That was a question you had on your list. And
one of the questions was like, what is in the last 5 years, what is the best new habit or belief or thing you've absorbed, you've taken on to affect your life in a positive way?
Yeah. And I think they wane, they come and they go. Right now I'm really big into a nightly review. So I sit down and ask myself, what could I have done better today? What were my successes today? What were my failures? Do I owe somebody an apology? And kind of write down what pops up for me. And if I do owe an apology, because I have a problem with sarcasm and humor, and I'll accidentally take a cut at you when I think I'm being funny, and then I heard it come out of my mouth, and I'm like, shit, I might have just hurt Jason by saying something, and so I'm practicing that has really been good, because it gives another person the opportunity to tell you the truth, especially when you call and you say, hey, I said something out of line, I think, in front of a group of people in front of you. And if I embarrassed you, I'm sorry, and is there anything I can do to make it right? Because that wasn't right of me, and that's been keeping me in check lately. Or calling people out of the blue and just appreciating them. Hey, I thought about you last night. How are you?
Yeah.
And it's usually a phone call to my benefit. It always is, and to yours. But my light shines a little brighter because I did that for that day. You know, I only have today.
I think they're all beautiful habits to take on. When you are reading for some inspiration on those mornings that you do that, is there a go-to place you look?
Yeah, I've been reading the same book for 11 years. What's it called? Now it's an app. It's actually for, I can't believe I don't know the name. The Language of Letting Go, it's called.
Language of Letting Go.
It's a daily, you know, couple paragraphs about, today's about considering commitment. And I thought it would get old, but I've been reminded every day is a surprise. I've been reading the same new day thing. Next week is letting go of being, or tomorrow is letting go of being a victim, you know, flack from setting boundaries. That's the next day, you know, appreciating ourselves. So I kind of read those, and then this one wanes too, but it works a lot better when I do it, but try to write down 5 things I'm grateful for and put that little piece of paper in my pocket. Because when the day goes nuts, I can go to the bathroom and pull that paper out and be like, oh yeah, you know, this is what I'm doing.
Brilliant. I've never thought of putting in my pocket. I have like I don't do it every day, but a lot of days I do 5 things in the morning. That's one of my kind of morning generally rituals. But I love the idea of having it in your pocket so that when you're walking around or I'm traveling or whatever, I can pull it out to be reminded right then.
Yeah. But you usually remember about when you're emptying your pants at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
The intention's there. You know,
there you go.
In all honesty, I do these things. Do I practice them? I do my best. You know, that's all we can do. It's only going to be as perfect as it is at whatever time it is, 6:40 tonight.
And right? You're doing it more than you did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Here's this is our friend Marcia. I love your story. It is not easy to share. Your journey is yours. However, you chose to use your servant heart to help others. Thank you for sharing your blessings, because you are, Mr. John, blessing others in many ways. Thank you for what you and your team are doing and accomplishing. I'll pray for you. Keep being awesome.
Thank you very much, Marcia.
Appreciate it. Amazing. Was there let me ask you this. When you're not making pies and you're not figuring out how to make pies and you're not chowing, we'll call it chowing. I don't know if it's a verb, but maybe we just.
It can be a verb.
There we go. When you're not chowing, what are you doing to fill your cup? Do you have any hobbies, anything that you just love that is one of your things?
I've been skipping through hobbies. I got into a couple of years ago building, now that I own a business, I'm not making as many pies. And for a long time in my life, I would judge how good my day was by how much product I had put in the walk-in I really need a visual cue to say you did a good job today. So I started building these 1/10 scale little remote control cars. And that was fun for a while, but now I have like 12 and only 2 hands. So I haven't gotten into those, but spring's here. So there's like a whole group of like 200 people that go up and do it at Red Rocks. And like these little trucks are like real Jeeps, but 10 scale, like real tires, real winches. And we go and play. Hopefully I find some. I didn't get to do it last summer because I took on too many farmers markets. And then this year, I don't know what's in store for a hobby. I want to get fit. I've lost a lot of weight. You know, those 40 days and 40 nights off. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. 40 days and 40 nights. For the beginning of the year. You know, I really didn't do anything but sloth, you know, and feel guilty about it until I didn't feel guilty about it. Yeah. And then I got to a point of like, oh shit, I got to go back outside again. And that was an interesting re-entry for a couple of days. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next thing. I don't know. I'm single. I don't know. You know, it's all been, my name, like I said, for the last 2 years has been Hey John, and I'm supposed to have the answer. And, you know, I like my solitary life in a lot of ways because my community is so huge. At the end of the day, I come home like, oh.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that, with personal relationships on their own. And maybe that's my hobby this year is like, let's run the steps again and figure out what's going on, you know, because that's a big thing about CHOW's here to keep us sustainable, right? We're not a crisis group. We get calls from restaurants. It's unfortunate, but hey, we lost a server today. They committed suicide or this or that. And that's not our role. We want to be the first door on the left to prevent that from happening. And just because I quit drinking doesn't mean my life is better. I still have problems, lots of them. I got rid of one, the drinking problem, but the rest of my problems are still there. And it's how I choose to navigate them today. And a lot of times I want to just hide under the cover. Some days I can't show up and I just call it a day, and that's a luxury and that's costly. But sometimes, you hit your limit. You just got to call it, and I'm free to restart my day at any given moment of the day too. That's hard to remember. You can put the day down and start it again at 2:00 if you want.
Wow. How do you do that?
You just say, I'm not playing anymore. And then go sit for 15 minutes or a half hour, go read something, try to do my morning ritual over again and step into it with a new attitude. If I'm getting stressed out, or, pick up the phone for 15 minutes and call your mom or call a friend randomly that's been on your head and you don't know why. We all carry those people around. Call them up. Why not? That gets anything to get me out of myself. That's how I start my day.
That's a great way to say that.
Because I'm all consuming with myself a lot.
I think many of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
So, John, brother, I don't know. You're a special human, and I'm blown away just by your willingness to be as real as you are, and what that allows me to feel like I can be with my story as well. And that's a real gift. And I love what you said, that we are not a crisis center. Our goal is to create something so that people don't get to that spot, right? Yeah. That you've got a place to be, place to share, listen, be the real you. And so you
figure out who the real you is. That's, one of our favorite topics is imposter syndrome, how do I show up? But that's a whole nother, I know we're running out of time, but.
Well, I love all of it. And I think it is a free and a wonderfully safe place. And I think two of our big goals, and I know I assume Jas is still on here, but one is we got to figure out how to get pies outside of the state of Colorado for our buddy Rick and Marcia. That's going to go on our list. But also there's people watching from around the country that want to be able to help. And so we'll keep finding ways. And thank you for, Chris and boom, right here. Who's someone's in. Let's see who that is. Jas is right there. She's in. So whether it's other leaders to listen or participate, or anyone who's watching, remember, they do, CHOW does these sessions, like their coaching sessions and group sessions and therapy, all this kind of different stuff. You can do it all on Zoom, right, John?
Yeah. I mean, COVID's in a lot of the ways the best things to happen for us. It's one of the greatest things to happen for you. I mean, you got to start, when I can tune in, I do, but CHOW meetings are the same time.
Yeah.
But watching you grow and do this. And when I signed on today and saw you had almost 2,000 members, I was like, wow, that's so cool, from your front porch, right?
Yeah.
And that's our mission. Just anybody that wants to start something, start shining your corner, small. And then other people show up with their own brushes. And next thing you know, we got a whole sidewalk. And then that sidewalk is going around the world, and who knows what's next.
I think it's beautiful. What's the website? Is it chow.org?
CHOWco.org.
So if you want to go find CHOW in the ways that you can participate, that you can volunteer, if you want to be a part of the group, if you need to go connect with a community of people, take some shared risks, learn together, go to chowco.org. There's our buddy Eric. Appreciate the journey. It resonates with us. Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
I love that it did. There you go. That's probably Jas. Boom. She's on it. She's on it. Hey, I'm going to read you just a couple things, John.
Okay.
I like to end a night with just some words from peers. So that you know that what you're doing is making a difference. And I'm sure you hear it a lot. But I think it's fun. I like reading these. Melinda Dorn. I admire John's sense of play
Oh,
and
wow.
that he doesn't linger long in seriousness. He gets that we're here to know joy and happiness.
Melinda Dorn, I have one word
Melinda.
for her. Melinda, yeah. Melinda is our coordination director, and she moved here from Minnesota to be a part of CHOW over COVID. And she is the most impressive woman I've ever met. Like, it's the best verb I have for her. Like, and I mean it from like the biggest idea of impressive you can have. I mean, she's just on it. And I mean, I can't say enough about Erin, Jasmine, and Melinda. And it's the beauty of CHOW. It provided 3 jobs with these awesome women. You know, I really think women should take over the world, but that's a whole nother story. Anyways, read the next one.
You've got a great team. You have a powerful message and a strong purpose. Keep it going. Scott Davis is up in, Minnesota or Illinois. Scott, you're up there somewhere. And thank you for joining, Scott. Our buddy Aaron Boyle, who I met a few times over COVID. Thanks for being the lone nut in starting this community. Comes back to the lone nut. I love it. Keep being that part of you. And Jasmine, your community gave me a sense of belonging that I didn't envision was possible when I left the restaurant industry behind. Your vision made it possible for me to find my support, and it's changed my quality of life. You've changed my life. Jasmine.
I love you, Jasmine. Thank you. I know you're here.
Pretty cool, brother. Hey, thanks for coming on for an hour. Thanks for being real. Thanks for deciding to move forward with a meeting on I think it was a Monday night at 5:30.
Yeah.
And all the way, and thanks for recognizing when it had become bigger than you and allowing it to continue to grow. And you've got this amazing team, Aaron, Melinda, Jazz, etc. I don't know, John. I'm just grateful for you, man. I love you. Thank you for sharing your story and allowing us to feel like we can do the same.
Everybody can. You're doing it yourself. So thank you for the platform and the message you put out too. I really like your, when I can make it, I really like to be a part of them. So
I love it. We'll keep doing it. Listen, everyone watching, thanks for joining John and I tonight. You know what the CHOW community is doing to create a safe place to go, be you, whoever you feel like you are right now, to grow in health and connection and community. What we do, we're all, I think a lot of people in food service, we all have servant hearts. Service is something, it's just one of our, it's our superhero thing. It's our cape.
yeah.
And oftentimes I think for many of us, our kryptonite, I don't know, I'm not supermanish, but I think our kryptonite is often, we're incredible at taking care of others. We're great at that.
You know, it's except for ourselves. You know, it's a whole community. We don't know how to say our feelings, so we put it on a plate. You know, what else do you want me to say? It's all right there.
You're so right. You know, that's our superpower is knowing how to care for others, but oftentimes knowing how to do that for ourselves is the thing that we struggle with. And guess what? Not just because the world needs you, should you care for you, but we all desire lives that feel that we care about ourselves, that we know who we are, that we feel like we know how to take care of ourselves. And yes, in turn, we get to then do it for others, and we do it better for others when we know how to care for ourselves. So let what John's doing and the whole team, this whole crew at CHOW, go see what they're doing. Join them, support them. I'm sure there's donations you can make there.
You can make donations, and yeah, I don't know why I feel moved to say this, but hey, you know, there's a terrible war going on the other side of the world that we got our eyes kind of closed to, and you know, watching their parliament on TV and seeing that they're our age, there's no old white men in their government, and to see the change they have made in the world, and you know, the things that really hit me was interviewing this parliament member woman, and the American newscaster said to her, "What's it like?" And she goes, the Ukrainian woman says, "What's it like? It's 7:30. I'm supposed to be at Pilates class right now, but no, I have a Kalashnikov and I'm begging the United States for air cover." And that really put me in their shoes. So, keep them in what's happening there is awful. And, we have tough times, but I couldn't imagine having to pack up and head west with, so I don't know why I moved to say that. I just think it's,
I'm grateful you did. Thanks for sharing that. I hadn't seen that. I haven't been watching the news as much, but thanks for sharing that. Yeah. Support however you can in that, whether it's up here or whether it's up right here or whether it's donations, etc. You're right. It's hard, for a lot of us just being human at times. It's really hard over there in Ukraine right now.
It's hard everywhere, man. But, sometimes like the last 3 weeks, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Shit, somebody's walking 200 miles because they don't want to do that either. So get your shit together, John.
Yeah, I can figure out how to not do this.
Yeah.
For the next 8 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, keep taking care of you. Remember, we are in this together. Whether it's in CHOW, whether it's in the Food Service Power Plant Network, we believe that life is done not just better, but that we're healthier, that we're freer to be ourselves, that we're stronger when we feel like we have people that have our back and that we are not alone. And we can handle those challenges or we can share those joys, whatever it is, when done in community. So whether it's in CHOW, whether it's Food Service Power Plant Network, continue to be a part. We're grateful for you. I'm grateful that I don't feel alone in this journey because so many of you are a part of it with me and so many of you are part of it with John. Again, to Zumba Group and Crave, thank you for being supporting partners and being a part of this mission to grow these positive mindset tools and this hope of empowering people to grow and develop and believe in what they're capable of, etc. And everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. A really wonderful night to be with you all. We will see you again soon. John, my friend, have a great night, brother.
Thank you. You too, Jason. CHOW loves you too.
Thank you, buddy. Talk soon, everybody. Be well.
Bye-bye.